name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight we have a very, very special guest. He was one of the first people on the original shows that I did back in our older studio. And he's a really tremendous talent. He's a stand-up comedian. He's a producer and filmmaker. And he's my dear friend. And his name is Greg Kritikos. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Alan, I'm so happy and thrilled to be here.
I'm so happy.
Seriously, yes. And when you called me and told me about how the show started over again, I know after the pandemic everything shut down. I was really thrilled. I was like, I get to see you because we haven't seen each other in such a long time. And working with you on Scriptless, one of the first productions in my career, a dramatic improvisational show, and it was just so much fun working with you back then. And and I'm so glad to be on the Way to Go show today.
And I'm so happy you were here. And I'm going to even go back a step further when we first actually met.
Right.
We actually met on a Ken Kushner film.
Oh,
and
Kush, yes.
But actually, it was your film.
Yeah, it was something that I had written back, just when I got into the industry, called Stories from Astoria, and I was hoping to, put this production together. So I started writing, and I met Ken Kushner. Somebody introduced me to him and said, "Hey, this is the guy to talk to if you want to do something." So I had met you at the auditions of The Shoemaker's Son, which is the title of the pilot now that I'm writing and I'm working on. But back then it was the Stories from Astoria, and and I met you on set, and we had a couple of scenes where you and I would, go into our characters, and it was great, to work.
I just
with you,
remember
Very,
what happened was I was like, you were there because you were the star of the show, you were the creator of the show,
right?
And I was there with about 20, 30 people, and waiting my turn to do my audition.
Right.
They called me in, and there were about 10, 15 people in the area.
A little more than that.
But then all of a sudden, people started coming in because it was like I have to say, it was one of the greatest acting experiences that I've ever had. And we were so connected that even Ken Kushner said something like, "That's an audition."
Right.
It was like one of the, it was amazing how a person who had, just started in the industry was able to connect with another person, in a room filled with people.
Yeah, well,
and just hit it out of the park. You were great.
Yeah, thank you. Acting is reacting to a scene, to the character that you're, filming across, or whatever, audition, or whatever the case is. And you brought everything to the table. And as a matter of fact, you were playing my father, I remember.
It was fantastic.
And, you were the shoemaker, and I was the shoemaker's son. And, we had an amazing connection. I really felt, and you know how Ken was like, "Oh, okay, you guys just give a little improv and whatever." But there were some lines that we had to touch up on, obviously, part of the script. But yeah, it was joyful, it was fun, and I got to see you, obviously, great talent, and you brought it to the table, and I just followed with you.
Again, one of the best experiences. And then I guess shortly thereafter, as I found out that LMC Media would provide not only The Way to Go, which I had you on earlier,
Right.
but also equipment and personnel to put on a show. So we did this show called Scriptless, and I tried getting a hold of you, but at the time you weren't in the New York area.
I was touring. I was out in the Northwest. I was doing some shows, and I had done the Bing Crosby Theater, which was one of my, wow, I was in awe, being on stage.
And I wish we had the photo, but we were having some technical difficulties.
Right,
so I don't
no worries. But and then I had spoken to Krissa. She had contacted me, and she told me that you had put her on Krissa Petridou. She's an actress and a singer, Greek singer, and on Scriptless, which again was brilliant because the idea that you came up with, this whole concept of getting all these actors that are capable of doing improv, because improv is not easy. I mean, if you want to do improv like on a comedic form, you could just throw some words out there that don't have to be connected. There's nothing. It's not building towards something. It could be funny. It could be like, okay, 1 minute you're talking about a toilet, the next thing you're talking about being in the forest. It's like, well, that's funny. But this was a dramatic improvisational show. So you would come up to us and you would give us the synopsis of the scene. This is what I want. And it worked out fine. And I remember working with Noah Forrest on that. You know, your good friend Noah, you've had him on the show, Chris. And other people came aboard, obviously, you know, and it was a hit. It was great. It was a lot of fun. And you were directing, producing, and you were the creator of the show.
But it was really great. But the thing was that I tried to get you. You were the person who I was trying to get a hold of.
Salvatore.
That's it. And when I got you, the performance that you gave every time we shot was, you brought it to the next level. I mean, you were the real head of this crime syndicate or whatever it was. You were a tough guy, and it really came through. But you were not just playing a tough guy. You were playing a tough guy, but like you had like this philosophy,
right?
And that came out. And you had the soft side, but you also had the hard side, and you were able to. You played the part to a T, and I couldn't have even dreamed to have a better person in that spot. Really,
well, thank you.
You were the star, and Noah was also a star in the show.
Yeah, Salvatore, the character that I was playing, you had told me, you said, Greg, I have a role for you, and I think it's right up your alleyway. And, you know, obviously, you know, my look, you like the look, you like my voice, the deep voice and all that. But you explained it to me also that he was a sensitive, he cared about his family, whatever. And we got to shoot a whole bunch of episodes. It was a lot of fun.
And you had a special relationship with my father,
yes,
who played the real,
Max.
like the real head of the family.
He was the godfather,
But, and we were supposed to be best friends when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Even though I'm much older than you. Right. Anyway, so we'll go. Okay, so that's Scriptless. So after Scriptless, you continued to act.
Yeah, I flew back in to New York, and I did The Pleasure Principle. That was a short that actually was in all film festivals, and I started doing more stand-up comedy.
Right.
You know, that's I love doing stand-up. You know, getting that electrical vibe that I get, you know, out of performing in front of a live audience. And I started working on, you know, just doing some numerous productions, but mostly writing. I loved writing. I started writing more and more and doing sketch comedy. And one of the sketch comedies that I'd done something called The Slice, Greg the Greek, with Ben Rosenfeld. And the next thing you know, it went viral. Okay. It was really fun. And to see this angry pizza guy with the anger management right up it's right up the alleyway of every New York pizza guy.
I know,
you can't have a happy New York pizza guy. Yeah? So we actually
they could actually find that if they go on YouTube.
Oh yeah, all you have to Google is Greg the Greek, The Slice, or The Slice Greg the Greek. Which later on, after it went viral, I got a call from Catch a Ball Productions, Michael Richard Williams. He contacted me. We started speaking, and the next thing you know, Catch a Ball Productions picked up, and we shot a pilot.
Holy smoke!
It's called The Connie Show.
And we're going to go through all these shows. Actually, why not? At this point, let's go. We'll look at some of the posters for some of these shows.
Yeah, The Connie Show.
I think we're going to come a little earlier.
Okay, no worries. But anyway, The Connie Show, CONNY, The Connie Show. If you Google it, you'll see the trailer, sizzle reel, obviously, not the pilot, but we shot a whole pilot. And Tina Tanzer is in it, Noah Forrest is in it, Chris Petrillo's in there. One of our producers is George Fuaxis that I've been working with for. He's one of the executive producers on The Connie Show.
Well, I'm going to ask the guy at the board to start showing some of the posters so we can actually take a look. So,
but getting back to this is the stand-up. This is my next special that I'm doing called "It's Not All Greek to Me."
Wow,
because it's not.
That's a great picture.
Growing up in an Irish Italian neighborhood. Yeah,
that's a fantastic photo of you.
And
I'll tell you, whoever, if you haven't seen Greg on stage. And how people react to him. I mean, you could be part of that crowd. I mean, people love him on stage, and they go crazy.
Yeah, I talk about real comedy, the real, challenges of, just growing up in a neighborhood, in an Irish Italian neighborhood. Even from the very start, when my mother, giving me my first Greek haircut, and people don't get it because, growing up in the 70s in Astoria, I immigrated back in 1971, and just when I got to Astoria, my mom's like, okay, you go out and play, and she put sandals on me at 7, and I'm like, sandals?
I don't mean to laugh.
I know, but the funny thing is, I wanted to wear tube socks,
I'm sure.
and she wanted me to wear sandals, so we kind of came to an agreement. And there you go. I walked out with tube socks and sandals, and it's not a good idea. I was like Dimitri and the Gladiators. Yeah, and with the funny haircut, she would shave my head and just leave like a little bush.
Right.
So these are the challenges of like, growing up with a ton of fear in the neighborhood that, comedy comes from pain.
Right.
And walking out to an Irish, Italian, some German neighborhood
Right.
with a shaved head and a bush and sandals, I was a character.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. My mother used to cut my hair, and she used to give me a baldy. So I know I could relate to what you're saying. I had to go to school with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost said the S word with that.
I was 7 years old, sitting in the barber chair, and I remember they used to put a plank because I was so little.
I was short too.
So I would sit on a plank, and it was like just like literally walking off a plank, on a pirate ship. And she would like sit behind the barber and kind of just like tell him, take a little more. Take a little more from the left. Take a little more from the right. And I'm like, how much more is there? How much more can you possibly take?
They got to the scalp already.
Right, scalp with just a bush. And she left the bush there because
God.
back in the 70s, in Greece, they would shave your head and leave bushes in the front, and the bushes were there for the teachers
I remember that haircut.
to grab you and by the head and just like, just dangle you all over the place.
But she did it with love. I mean, come on.
Yes, this is Christian love. It wasn't Catholic. I mean, it was Orthodox love, not Catholic.
Right.
I've had friends of mine that went to Catholic school, and these nuns were like so abusive.
But she did it thinking that she was doing the right thing.
Right, but she had no idea.
Right, well, she was new to America.
Yeah. So I remember telling her about tube socks. She picked up a tube sock. She's like, "There's no heels on these socks." I was like, "Yeah, hence the tube."
That's it. Okay, what do we got next? The next
So that's
picture. Let's look at another picture over
me.
here.
This is So this is Charlie Boy.
But it's a little bit.
Okay. This is with Kelly LeBrock. And Burt Young.
Can I tell you something really quick about Kelly LeBrock?
Yeah.
She was in something with the Lady in Red.
Yes.
A buddy
Gene
of mine,
Wilder.
when I was in Hollywood, was in it. And he used to talk about what she looked like.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just
Kelly.
wanted to say.
When I started writing this, that was the original title, Charlie Boy, and Dominic Martini, the executive producer, that my condolences.
can't see
he's no longer with us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He had come to a comedy show,
Yeah.
and he stuck around at the end of the show, and I got to meet him. I had no idea who he was. We had met on set of a movie called Brawler. Another Ken Kushner was part of that. Rob Simmons was one of the. And that's where I met Joey D'Onofrio. From The Bronx Tale.
I had him on this show, by the way.
Oh, Joey D'Onofrio, yeah. He actually opened up for me.
Really?
At Dangerfields.
All right, you told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he wanted to do stand-up. I said, Joey, you could do some sit-down or lay-down, but I don't know if you're ready for stand-up.
Yeah, I remember there was a...
Anyway, so, Joey D'Onofrio, I had met him and on a movie that Dominic Martini was also executive producer on called Brawler.
Right.
So he saw my set.
Oh, yeah, I worked on Brawler, too.
Right. He saw my set. He liked my set. And he said, is there anything that you're working on? I said, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm working on this movie about these three guys. One of them was in organized crime. He broke out of organized crime. And then he has to go back in to help out one of his friends. So the guy's name was Charlie. So we ended up calling him Charlie Boy. That was it.
So, if we go to the next slide, I guess it's... you wound up getting an award for this, right?
Yeah, I got an award. It was in California.
I'm sorry. We missed the... okay.
Right. We're a little bit, it's not everything is coming in order at the moment, but it's okay.
But anyway, I forgot.
That's Tina Tanza. Noah Forrest is on the poster.
But actually, you won...
Ben Rosenfeld.
What was the award that you won for... and they changed the name,
Producer.
Right?
Producer for Tomorrow's Today, which is the original movie, like
and
I
where
said,
could
was
you see
Charlie
that?
Boy. That's on Amazon Prime.
Right.
You can just go on Amazon Prime and just search Tomorrow's Today.
Right. We're not talking about Connie Boy yet, but I have to ask you.
The Connie show.
Wait, before that, I want to know, what was it like working in scenes with Burt Young? That's the question I have.
Burt Young, obviously, the great Burt Young, Academy Award nominee. When I first met him, we was talking, and he said, "How you doing?" My name is Burt Young. I was like, "Yeah, really? Okay, great." And we had a scene where I'm in a chapel, and the character is going through some challenges in his life. But the way I wrote it, Burt Young knew my father,
right,
in Charlie Boy, and I was going there. I was trying to communicate with my higher power, which I like to call God, and he was there, and he said to me, one of his lines is like, sometimes we need to help others that can't help themselves.
Wow. That's
and
deep.
it was really profound. It was deep, and that was my scene with Burt Young, the great Burt Young, and he was an amazing talent, obviously, and just to sit there, and I got to speak to him. We spoke a little bit about some movies, Rocky, obviously, that he was in, and also another great movie. If you remember, he was in what was that movie in The Village where he was a Godfather with I forget
The
it.
Pope of
Eric
Greenwich?
Robert, the Pope of Greenwich Village. Yes, he talked to me a little bit about the Pope of Greenwich Village.
I forgot this, but it came to me now. When I used to bartend at the Hollywood Palace. I remember him coming to one of the parties.
Right.
And he needed a shave, but he was younger then. This is 40 years ago. But you had him in his prime. Okay, so let's shift over to this, The Connie Show. What is this? What is this
So
all
the
about?
Connie Show, as I was saying earlier, is that's me holding the plunger. It's about a pizza guy. So the Connie Show was born because of The Slice.
Right.
The Slice was a sketch that went viral on social media, and then we decided, I got called by producer, director, Michael Richard Williams, and he said, I'd like to talk to you about shooting a pilot. So the pilot was funded. Catch a Ball Productions picked it up, and we have a 35-minute, 35-minute pilot
Awesome.
of this guy by the name of Connie in the short sketch, The Slice. His name is Nunzio, but then we decided to call it The Connie Show. And Connie is very unhappy with how things are turning out in life today with a lot of the, whatever you want to call it, people are, so one of them is Ben Rosenfeld. He comes in, and Tina Tanzer, obviously, she's in it. Like I said, Noah, and we have a whole bunch of.
Tina Tanzer.
Nikki Sunshine is in it. We have all these.
Tina Tanzer, isn't she that gorgeous?
Oh, she's gorgeous. She played with us on Scriptless. Yes.
I know.
Yes, and
So this is funny. I actually saw.
you saw anybody could see the sizzle reel.
Right.
If you just Google the Connie Show, you'll see the 2-minute sizzle reel.
It's crazy fun. It's wonderful.
It's
wonderful.
He's just fed up with all these people coming in and asking him about
crazy.
pizza and everything.
But you have such talented comedians and actors, and it's really
it's
really a good show.
Yeah, and writing this was fun for me. I really enjoyed it. I really loved writing
But
it.
Noah has that look of consternation on his face.
Noah's character, he actually plays Smiles. That's the guy's name. And the reason I got that, because the actual owner is always smiling in Guardio's, where we actually filmed in the story of Queens. Because Noah's character is like, he always has an answer to everything. And Noah's slick, great
He's a
actor.
slick dude,
you know what I'm saying?
definitely.
And he fit in that role perfectly the way he smiles.
The two of you together on Scriptless was unbelievable. One day we'll have that again on The Way to Go.
Yeah. No,
Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. Let's see what the next slide is. This is like going to your family.
Yes, wow.
Oh,
So
this is cool.
Yeah, this is actually a short that I wrote. Noah and I were kicking up some ideas, going back and forth, and Noah and I decided to do a little improv on this as well.
Wow,
because
that's cool.
Thanks to Scriptless. But Noah Forrest and I worked called Scarred Angels, and this is about two guys that were actually, one of them was raised in a foster home, and that was Noah's character, and he was violated mentally and physically, or whatever you want to call it, by his foster home parent. And later on in life, tables turn, and he actually catches up to him, and these are two childhood friends, and they're both scarred. That's the way we came up with it.
tell you,
I came up with Scarred Angels.
If anyone wants to see two people acting together in the most intense way, you should see this movie.
Yeah, it's
Because-
actually right. This is going to be all over the. We're going to put it in all major film festivals. And right now, as a matter of fact, today I was looking to the editor. We should be done editing in a couple of weeks. Finished.
I mean, when these two guys get together and act, it is like unbelievable. You got to see it. It's
working with
incredible.
Noah. With him again, like I said,
For 12 years, you've been working with this guy on and off.
and he's so easy to work with. Even in Scriptless, when we had that scene about Salvatore coming back into the neighborhood and Noah's doing. He's so easy to work with, especially.
Yeah, you guys you just bounce ideas off each other like basketball players throw the ball. You guys
he's got the
great.
look and the sound, and it's always a pleasure to work with Noah.
Is that the last one? I don't know. Is there any more slides?
Right now, also, we just got done finishing a script called Crooked.
Oh yeah.
That's
Well,
the
back to
one
Way
that
to
you
Go.
had come down. Anyway, you had you came to the reading.
Right, but that
So
was
that's a
interesting.
feature.
We had like 30 people there.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's such a complex script that you have, and the idea of you writing the script
Yes.
for like 20 or 30, I don't know how many people you had in that, and we read the
Yeah.
entire script.
Thank you.
It's pretty incredible to be able to. I mean, I was dealing with scriptless, and I didn't write the script. I just wrote the story with like maybe the most 8 people or 9
Right.
people. But to be able to actually encapsulate each one of these personas and actually have it work,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Well, being a storyteller, I love the stories, and growing up in Astoria back in the 70s, there was so many different characters that I, as a kid, growing up with a lot of fear,
Right.
in a neighborhood that, I wasn't really accepted, and I got to see all different types of people, the good, the angry, and again, when I tell a story and when I'm writing something, it's all based on my life experiences of coming across certain people, and I love watching films also. Right. So when I started writing, the feature, which obviously even in the first one that I wrote that's on Amazon Prime, Tomorrow's Today,
Right.
the original title was Charlie Boy,
Right.
based on characters that I grew up with in my life, So then after that was over and I actually, it's on Tomorrow's Today's on Amazon Prime.
Right.
I decided that I wanted to write another feature, and I went with Crooked. And Crooked is about a crooked cop that, again, has ties to organized crime,
Right.
and at the same time, he's a little, he suffers with an addiction. Okay, hence sobriety, obviously, and
Oh, that's the other thing we could talk about in a little while. But
yes, yeah, and what happens is that his addictive personality has taken over his life, and and he's got some major issues, and he's also a cop. He's crooked, and so if you get an idea, somebody once said to me, Greg, give me some movies that you think that might be in that genre, and I said The Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel.
Oh, yeah.
Remember him? I mean, that was like he arrests the guys that actually violate the nun, and he's got, by this time he's deep into the wise guys with the money, and he's also smoking crack.
I mean,
So
he's some actor too.
intense scene, right? That, and also there was another one called Miami. I think it was with Alec Baldwin. Miami Blues. Do you remember that when he was young?
I didn't see it, but I remember. I
It was
remember that movie.
there's a character in there that actually finds a badge, and he's portraying a cop, and he's a convict, an ex-con. So that's something similar to the Crooked, but it's got an amazing ending. You came to the reading. A lot of actors like it, and right now we're with the hopes we're talking to people, and hopefully we'll get budget.
Well, I wish you luck on that. The one thing I would also like to talk about in the time that we have remaining is something very important to you.
Yes.
And I've seen the arc of your life as a result of what's happened. I mean,
Thank you.
you can express it. You know what I'm talking.
Well, yesterday I had 166 months of sobriety.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I met you in early sobriety.
Right.
March 2nd of 2011 is my sober date, where I just totally, I was at a very bad, point in my life where, alcohol, drugs, cocaine, crack cocaine had taken over my life, and I was just a walking corpse, and I was 385 pounds. Depression, neuropathy set in, bad cholesterol, diabetes, everything. The whole kitchen sink had hit me. And one of my best friends actually came and saved my life. I grew up with him, Enzo. And he said, listen, you're going to detox. And I spent 7 days in detox in East Rockaway. And then from there, I spent 3.5 months of rehabilitation at Vernon Boulevard, Phoenix House. I'm an alumni from Phoenix House. And my journey began. And, and I had the gift of desperation. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I just needed somebody to come and grab me and point it out. And I basically, it was just, that's it. It was done for me. Neuropathy, high blood pressure, bad and good cholesterol was through the roof, sleep apnea,
Right.
nerve damage. I mean, all the things that I went through, spent 3.5 months of rehabilitation. And I came out, and I remember, just being able to breathe. And I
look
was
at
like,
you
oh
now,
my God.
man. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and what you've done with you took all that energy that was screwing up your life,
Yeah.
and you changed your life to something that's incredible. Like
Yeah,
it's like
called
every
living.
actor's dream, every filmmaker's
Right.
dream,
That as a comedian,
and
I'll
a
tell you,
comedian. Right?
I love being a comedian. I love, and even like what I've done in my short career, whatever you want to call it, I'm happy. I'm like, people like, don't you want to be famous? Don't you want to? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy what I'm doing. I've hit my bottom in my life. This is all pudding. This is all frost. This is all cake, cherries, whatever. So just being able to put things together in production and being funded a couple times, putting a cartoon, working with Mike Rockwitz from Marvel Comics. You know, he's a great friend of mine. You know, him and I have done so many shows together. He does all my posters, everything that you see. Mike Rockwitz, the youngest editor to work with Stan Lee in Marvel Comics.
Wow.
He's my graphics designer. Him and I have, and it's like I'm living my dream every day. You know what I'm saying? I love what I'm doing.
And the dream just gets better and better. I mean, I can't believe I've been watching your career as it has progressed, and everything gets better and better and better and better. I mean, so many people, I know so many actors that don't act. I know so many people, filmmakers that don't make films. You are a person who's able to visualize something and make it actually happen.
Yeah, I love to. I have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? And working around people like you early in my career, you know, when I first met you and I was in awe with you, and I'm still in awe with you because, like, you know, you too, you're a great actor. You love acting. And I don't believe that, you know, in order for us to achieve certain goals, we have to be famous and we have to, like, I believe that, you know, I'm content in my life. I'm very happy where I'm at, you know. I remember the first time I got sober, and somebody said to me, "Listen, you know, you're funny. I could put you on stage." And I was like, "Really? Like stagecoach out of town? You know, that's the first." And this woman came into my life, and she got me at New York Comedy Club on a Friday night at 8 o'clock. And the first line, to this day, I still remember 13 years ago, I got on stage, and I said, well, I want to thank everybody for coming on stage. And I realized, I said, wait a minute, I'm on stage. They're over there. And everybody started laughing, and I felt this vibration come under my feet. And ever since then, it's been just laughing and just saying, you know, doing what I love to do and making people laugh.
Well, you know, and you're so much healthier now than you were before. I mean, you're mentally healthier, you're physically healthier, and you're such a success story. I mean, it's amazing. And I know you know, in the last minute that we have, I mean, you help others, right? I mean, you do.
Giving it away. I mean, in order for me to stay sober, you know, I have to give it away. And for me, sober is son of a bitch. Everything's real. S-O-B, excuse me.
No, it's okay. It's no problem.
Everything's real.
But you actually do. You go to help people.
Yes, I work in all different types of organizations. I have commitments that I go to hospitals and I take people. And if I could change one person's life, to me, that's like the ultimate success story.
But, you know, when you go like this, it reminds me of one thing.
Yes.
There's just one thing left to say. That's a wrap, folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.